Shalom lekulam, and welcome to lesson number 15 on the book of Zohar. We are in a section of the Zohar that is called the prologue. For those of you who are using the Kabbalah Center Unabridged English translation, that will be on volume 1, and in there you're gonna find it, if I'm not mistaken. Let's check here quickly. You're gonna find what the section that we're gonna study today on page 34, depending on which version or printing edition you have of the Kabbalah Center Zohar. Those of you who are using a different Zohar, that's gonna be on Zohar volume 1 section 3b. Okay, and just to start quickly, in the previous lesson we were studying the section called the lock and the key, and one thing that we need to remember is that when we were talking about the lock and the key, we were talking about a part in the word of Atzilut, of course, a part in the word of Atzilut in which Malchut is elevated to the level of Aveima, Bina, and there's yesod. There's a yesod that works instead of Malchut, right? And that yesod is called ateret yesod. And ateret yesod is what was called the key, and then Malchut, which is the one that holds the gates or has the lock that needs to be unlocked. It's basically, or is basically, the lock that unlocks or makes Malchut go to the lower places, to the proper place below yesod, and in this way the light can actually go all the way down from where Malchut was, which was called Nikve Enayim, which is basically the eyes, right? And what this happens is when ateret yesod opens this lock or these gates, the light opens the partzuf, and or Hochmah fills the whole partzuf. And when I'm talking about partzuf, remember I'm talking about the whole, for lack of a better way to explain it, it's like the whole body gets filled with the light of Hochmah, okay? And this is why, this ateret yesod, we call it a key, because it's the one that opens those gates so the light can actually come all the way down. Now we're going to be entering a new section. The new section is called Abraham, and in this section is actually called Behivaram or Beavram, which means created with Abraham, or created with mercy. Okay, we're gonna study that, but it's called Abraham. And like always, before we start studying the Zohar, we are going to build our intentions. And intention is, as we study the Zohar, we're not studying the Zohar to basically see what these passages that we're reading, what mysteries they have, and how to actually decipher the cryptic messages and the cryptic language that it uses. In reality, we're gonna get that. Yes, that's part of the process, gaining knowledge. But knowledge is not the goal. The goal here is to attain connection with the light, to bring down the light down to earth, especially this moment that we need it so much, right? And what we're gonna do is, as we scan these names of God that are being filled with other letters, we're going to build our intention to bring the light down in order to bring peace on earth. And especially in this moment, as of this video, we have a war in Ukraine, and we need to put our intention into bringing exactly what we are at this moment studying about, which is the light of mercy, bringing the light of down to earth, so all of us can see clearly what is the real goal. That the real goal is not about fighting each other, about trying to conquer each other or anything like that, but to unite and conquer our evil inclination and transform it into merits. Okay, so let's scan these names, and then after that I'm gonna read the prayer of the Ari to study the Zohar. A prayer from the Ari to be recited before the study of the Zohar. Ruler of the universe and master of all masters, the Father of mercy and forgiveness, we thank you, our God and the God of our fathers, by bowing down and kneeling, that you brought us closer to your Torah and your holy work, and you enable us to take part in the secret of your holy Torah. How worthy are we that you grant us with such a big favor, which is the reason we plead before you, that you will forgive and acquit all our sins, and that they should not bring separation between you and us. And may it be your will before you, our God and the God of our fathers, that you will awaken and prepare our hearts to love and revere you, and may you listen to our utterances and open our closed hearts to the hidden studies of your Torah, and may our study be pleasant before you, before your place of honor, as the aroma of sweet incense, and may you emanate to us light from the source of our soul to all of our being, and may the sparks of your holy servants, through which you reveal your wisdom to the world, shine. May their merit and the merit of their fathers and the merit of their Torah and holiness support us, so we shall not stumble through our study. And by their merit enlighten our eyes in our learning, as it is stated by King David, the sweet singer of Israel. Open my eyes, so that I will see the wonders from your Torah. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. May the utterances of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, God my strength and my Redeemer. Okay, like I mentioned before, we are going to be studying a section in the book of Zohar called Abraham. And you're gonna find it, in the Hebrew version called the Hivaran or the Abraham, which means, with Abraham. God created with Abraham. God created with mercy. Okay. And in here, what you're gonna see, it's kind of like continuation about the key and the lock, and because this is a concept that is going to continue along the way. Okay. But before we start, I just want to make clear that we are at this moment talking about the world of Atzilut, okay? And in the past, when we were talking about Malchut was elevated to Nikveh and Aim. And then when ateret yesod, which was taking the place of Malchut, ateret yesod unlocks, the lock for the light to flow all the way down. Then Malchut falls down. I would say no, it doesn't fall. It descends down in order to receive that light, right? And so the whole partzufim, the whole system, this whole system here of Light of Hochmah, Bina, Serampim, Malchut, then is full with the light. Okay, so that's basically where we end up. Now, that's how the light came down. Now what's gonna happen? Remember, we talked about that there were some what is called the 7 days of creation, and there's also the upper 6 days. Okay, so we're gonna have the upper 6 days, which is Vak the Vina, which is the lower 6 of Vina, or the ramping of Vina, and then we're gonna see 6 days of creation, which is the ramping itself of the word Atzilut. Okay, And remember, we talk about attic. Attic is basically hidden. Attic has an hab, which is a lower part. Hab is vessels of reception. Those vessels of reception become adding camping, and adding camping has Galgalta 9, which is vessels of bestowals, and the vessels of reception of adding camping then become Ava or Hochmah. Okay, and then so on and so forth. From the hab, the lower partzuf, basically is created. Okay. Now, let's start with the text. Rabbi Yossi said, "It is certainly so. I heard the same from the holy luminary, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that the word bara is concealed in order to show that the key, that's ateret yesod, remember, locks up and does not unlock. As long as the key locked up the word bara, the world could not exist and will not have lasted at all. Complete chaos will have prevailed, covering the whole of existence. And when this chaos prevail, there will not have been a world. It will have never lasted." And this is because, there's basically what is called restriction. Okay, this severity in there. It's not allowing anything to basically exist. Okay, and it just common sense, right? If it's locked, there's no light going all the way down in order to create anything. Nothing is gonna be created, and if something is created, it's not gonna last because it's not basically supported by the light. Okay, all right, let's continue with the next. So when did this key unlock the gates and serve and produce offspring? When Abraham appeared, as Abraham is identified with Hesed, as it is written, "These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth, and they were created." And we have already learned not to pronounce created as it is written, Behibaram, but instead as Be'abraham, which means with Abraham. Then the letters that were entirely concealed in the word bara were opened, and to here, and the pillar of procreation, the sacred limb of yesod upon which the world is established, was revealed. In Hebrew, the word for create and limb are spelled the same letters, which is bara evar, bet aleph resh, and aleph bet resh. Okay, for those of you who might want to see how it is written, so bara is bet aleph resh, okay, bar, and the other one was aleph bet resh. So they're written with the same letters. So let's go. As I have mentioned before in other lessons, we're using the commentaries of the Baal HaSulam, and Baal HaSulam says, in this part that it says, that when this is revealed, and then the act of creation can take place. What is revealed. Remember, we mentioned, that what is revealed is a sacred limb, which is basically of yesod. This is kind of like a symbolism of the sexual organ of the brit, or circumcision part. And when it's revealed, then creation can happen. When it is revealed, this means that Malchut descends from Enaim, and where she ascended for reasons of the Tzimtzum Bet, for her previous place in Peh, and this led to the revelation of the 49 gates of Hochmah. And this is going to be kind of confusing if you're listening to this lesson without studying first the intermediate lesson. In the intermediate lessons, I explain what is Tzimtzum Bet. And Simsum Bet actually it's a restriction that Malchut does, so it doesn't receive the light in order to create, chaos. Okay. Now, when it was revealed, right, Malchut descends from a 9. Let me go to the graphics so it'll be easy. So Malchut is in a 9, Igve 9, and now descends all the way to its place, right? But when can be used? Well, it can be used when Or Hochmah, the light of wisdom, clothed with Or Hasidim, meaning that Bina, Hochmah and Bina actually unite in order for the vessels that are below to receive the light of Hochmah without basically creating any chaos, any breaking or anything like that. As a result of this, Ahab, which are the vessels of recession, receive this Or Hochmah. But the only way they can receive the Or Hochmah is if it is clothed with what is called Galgalta and 9 of Bina, which is the God of Bina, the 3 vessels of Bina that are vessels of bestowal. They're not, of reception, right? And in this way, it can go all the way down to Zerampin and Malchut. So basically, Abba Ve'ima is over here, and in Abba Ve'ima you're gonna find that Bina divides in 2. The Zat Bina is also known as yesod. So if it's not clothed with the Mi, which is yesod, which is like a Zerampin and Nukva of Bina, it cannot go then to the Zerampin and Nukva below Bina as well. And what does that mean, to create basically generations? The generations are gonna be, the souls are gonna be living in this area over here, in the words of Bia, the words of Bria, Yesira, and Asiya. And they're gonna be, these souls are gonna be basically created from Zerampin of Atzilut. Okay? And this only can happen when the light of Hochmah that is given, by Abba Ve'ima through yesod, and yesod then, transferred to Zerampin Malchut. Zerampin then has what is called a sivug. A sivug is kind of like a coupling, like a union then with its Nukba, which is Malchut, and there these souls are created, and that's basically what we call the souls of the righteous in the world of Bia are created. Then below here, you're going to have another world, which is called the Olam Hesed, this world. And that is our egoistic world. Now, I'm going to cut, from Zohar a little bit to explain something. So we have the soul of the righteous. This is the realm of the souls of the righteous. All of us are in this world. The Olam Hesed. This is the world of egoism. This is the world of the wars. This is the world of jealousy, selfishness, and all that. This line that you have here is a restriction, just as this line here, which is a parsa of Avia, is also a restriction. The same thing with the parsa de Atzilut, which is a restriction. Pe is a restriction. Restriction means that there's a barrier. So we have a barrier that divides this physical egoistic world from the spiritual world, okay, which is the world of Abiyah, which is Atzilut, Bria, Yesira, and Asiya. And that barrier is called the Machzon. The Machzon is basically this barrier that doesn't let us be basically in contact with the Creator. And in here I'm going to reveal what is called a secret, right? When we see this barrier spiritually, whenever we see something or we perceive something in the spiritual realm, there's gonna be something in the physical realm that resembles that. For example, we know if we go to the land of Israel, the physical land of Israel that is in this Olam Hesed, we're gonna see the religious Jews, and also Jews that might be religious as well. They pray on a wall. It's a barrier, right? A retention wall that they pray. This retention wall is represents, for these Jews, like the closest that they can get to the Holy of Holiest, that basically the Temple Mount, right? And you might think that when they're praying there, they're just wasting their time. They're praying into a wall and everything. What you don't actually know is that this is a physical representation of this machzon. And exactly as a Jewish person or even a Gentile, when they go visit, this wall, goes over there and cries and prays for whether it's for spiritual freedom, whether it is, for the return of the temple, or the return of peace on earth and things like that. When they go there, basically is a representation of the soul of all humanity, having also a wall here that doesn't let them enter or be in contact with the Holy of Holiest, which is spirituality. So we have a physical counterpart here, okay? And this is what I want you to think. Physically, we have, the Temple Mount is covered by what we call a klipot, right? A dome. We can do nothing because it's covered. We cannot access. We have no access to it. The forces of Tumah, basically don't let us, be there. So we have to break that barrier, that wall, spiritual wall, not the wall that we see over there in Jerusalem. The spiritual wall, and the spiritual wall is only destroyed by every human being uniting, starting with those souls that belong to Israel, uniting as one man and one heart. And this way they can then cross this machzon, cross this barrier, and attain these levels of spirituality that are beyond this world, okay? And this is something that some people might not believe, but this is how it is. You cannot cross this wall anymore by yourself. You need other people in order to cross this, because the evolution, spiritual evolution now is in a collective level. We no longer have these Kabbalists that are going to be attaining these levels, writing it down, and then, revealing it to certain people only. Now this wisdom is going to be revealed, the wisdom of Kabbalah is going to be revealed to the whole world, because now it's a collective endeavor. It's not more individuals trying to reveal the light. It has to be everybody, okay? So this is something that is very important. When we're doing it by ourselves, we are using the forces of restriction. When we're doing it with everybody, when we're sharing, this wisdom with people without forcing, if you're forcing using severity and judgment, you cannot force anything in spirituality, right? But when you're doing it out of love, when you work on yourself first, you'll see that other people will start, coming and learning from you, or learning from the teacher that you're learning, and or the group that you're studying with, okay? So think about that, okay? This system here applies to our life 100%. We're down here, but we need to try to cross our personal machzon and connect with the light, connect with the spiritual part of our own soul, right? In order to continue our collective work. Because we're not just one soul working, learning Kabbalah. In order for me to use the term, that is used in Christian circles, to save my soul, that doesn't work. It's not the way. We don't save our soul. We need to connect our soul with the source, and the soul of other people connect our soul with their soul. So together we can climb this ladder and reach spirituality. Now let's go back to the text. Abraham is the representation of mercy. It represents the Sephirah Hesed. The Sephirah Hesed, which is Sephirah over here, inside Serampin. And this is Hesed in Parsuf Serampin during is Gadlut, which is a big state, which is when the light is filling all the way down. Remember when the key opened that gate, all the light of Hochmah comes down when it's clothed in our Hasidim, and then you're gonna see that the whole Parsuf Serampin start filling with this light. And the first one to receive this light is Hesed, which is represented by Abraham. And this is how when Hesed, received this light, I mentioned before that there's an ascension. These Hesed, Geburah, and Tiferet basically rise themselves higher, and then Hesed becomes Hochmah, Geburah becomes Bina, and Tiferet becomes the pseudo Sephirah called Da'at, right? So instead of Hagat, Hesed, Geburah, Tiferet, now it becomes Chabat, which is Hochmah, Bina, and Da'at. Before this Sephirah was revealed, before Abraham was revealed, the word Bara concealed everything in it. And nothingness basically was ruling what we call the world, right? There was no Or Hochmah, there was no Or Hasidim inside this Parsuf that we call Serampin and Nukba. But this life of Hesed, this life of mercy, descends to Serampin. The gates were opened, or Hochmah then, fills the Parsuf, because Malchut descends from Gargalta Enaim, no Gargalta Enaim, from Nikve Enaim, all the way to the place it's supposed to be. And yesod, which we talk about it, let me go back to the graphic. Yesod, which is this lower part of Bina, which is Sat of Bina, becomes also one Parsuf with what we call Abba Ve'ima, Abi, which is Hochmah and Bina. They become one in 1 degree, okay? Which this is the reason the light can descend then to Serampin and Malchut. So we're gonna see that this light of wisdom or Hochmah clothes itself in the line of Hasidim, meaning that the words me, right, then join together with the word Ele. And remember we talk about this, me Ele, right? And the creator's name Elohim then is completed, and because Hochmah is filling Serampin. Now let's go to item 47. If you're using when Evar left this impression, the word bara, then the supernal or concealed one formed another impression for his name and glory, which is who, which is me, and this Ele. So was the holy and blessed name, which is Ma. Ma is basically that 45, the number 45 that comes, from the filling of the names, which we're gonna see later in Absak Ma. So it's gonna be this. This is basically Atzilut here. Okay, these are the partzufim that are created when Galgalta, which is the Malchut that creates a restriction because of the bread of shame, start receiving the light in accordance to giving back to the Creator. Okay, let's go back to 6. Okay, so whenever I left its impression in the word bara, then the supernal and concealed one form another impression in his name and glory, which is me, and this Ele. So was the holy and blessed name, which is Ma, formed as a mark. It brought forth a bar from bara, and it has the imprint of this from one side. Remember, this is Ele, and a var from another side, which is basically bara. Okay. Therefore, in the sacred concealed one, these, which is Ele, exists, and as does Evar. And when one of them reaches perfection, so does the other one. Thus, he engraved upon Evar the letter He, and it engraved upon the Aleph, the Lamed, and the He, the letter yod. Let me explain this one quickly here. So what it's saying here basically is, according to Baal HaSulam, what it's saying here is that the Sephira Yesod of Parsuf Seramping, okay, let me go. So we got, Seramping, which is in LA, right? Seramping, Sephira Yesod Parsuf Seramping, there is an end, there's basically a limit. And I don't know if you remember, we were studying the letters, and there's a area in which the creator created basically a restriction in which it stops when we're studying the letter. The light cannot go lower than that, because the forces of Tumah that are down here can take hold of it and then corrupt the whole system, right? So that's why it is saying that there's an end, there's like die, that's it, stop right there, meaning a place where there's gonna be a contact with Malchut, with a place that is called the place of the Brit, the place of the covenant between the creator, which is in this case the creator is represented by Zeramping, and the Shekhinah, which is the souls of the righteous that are called Israel, or, well, as we know, as Malchut, right? This place of contact is going to be called ateret yesod, which is the encirclement of yesod, or what is called the keter de seramping, or the crown of seramping. The word bara is basically represents a small state. A small state represents when none of the vessels of receptions are used, only the vessels of bestowal. So bara signifies that. And that is because of the restriction that Malchut did when he ascended all the way to Nikveh and 9. And in this way, it doesn't basically, it's like Bina, it doesn't have to basically need anything. Now, when Malchut ascended and standed together with in this area where Avi is, in Nikveh and 9, Malchut is called, and remember this word, write it down, Manula. Okay, Manula. Manula means lock. And this lock prevents the light from spreading down below, as mentioned below. And ateret yesod is called miftaha, which is key in Hebrew. Miftaha. It's only through the property of this light called miftaha that the partzufim located below can receive the light below, where Nikveh 9 is, and it's because this key will open the lock. And basically what Baal HaSulam is saying here, is a repetition of what we have mentioned before. This is possible on condition that this ahab, the LA part, this portion down here, ascends to me, which is yesod. They go higher to that level of yesod. And remember, yesod is like the seramping and the nukba of Bina. These 7 lower ones of Bina, you have 7 sefirot here, seramping and Malchut, ascending to that level of me. Then Hochmah can be received in the vessels of LA that wish to receive, the Hochmah. But it can only be done by the ascension upon something called parsa. So remember, you got a parsa here, right? And as Serampir Malchut rise to yesod, you're gonna see that yesod also is gonna be ascending, so everything becomes in one partzufim at the same level. Okay. Once the properties of Malchut acquires the properties of Bina, remember Malchut is receiving, Bina is bestow, is giver, is a giver. So instead of being an egoistic desire, now Malchut needs to become an altruistic desire, desire to give, a desire to bestow. Then Malchut can receive, only then, when Malchut changes these properties of egoistic property, can receive what is called the 50th gate, which is Bina, right? The 50th gate. And this for this reason that we see that the word mi, bara, ele, who created this, is not a question, right? But an action. Mi means galgalta enaim, which means bara, and ele is basically the hab. Okay, who created basically these lower ones? Okay, so imagine that this here is also bara, and this is ele down here, because everything repeats itself. Just as we have mi, ele in here, you're gonna have that this is also mi, and this is ele down here. Okay, and for this world that we live in, the Olam Haseh, the upper worlds are basically the mi, and the lower world is ele. Okay, the only problem is that we're so disconnected that we're not connected to mi, so we have only ele, and ele are these, leads to idolatry. This is a secret, of idolatry, what we call idolatry. That's why you see when the Israelites committed the sin of the golden calf in the desert, you're gonna see that basically they say, ele, these are your this is your God, ele. Now, when let's go to the next, I think it's better to go to the next paragraph 48. And it says here, the letters, let me move this aside. The letters Aleph, Bet, Resh, Hey, and Aleph, Lamed, Hey, Yod were roused to complete both sides. Remember we talked about Avir and Ele, and then we got a Yod added to it. We're roused to complete both sides. He then brought forth the final letter Mem. He took one final Mem to one side, to Aleph, Lamed, Hey, and Yod, in order to complete Elohim, and one final Mem to the other side, that is the letter Aleph, Bet, Resh, and Hey, which is complete the word basically Abraham. Okay, thus completed the holy name to form Elohim, right, with the Mem, and the same manner the name Abraham was completed. When one of them reaches perfection, so does the other one. Remember, Elohim, even though it's the name used for creation, Elohim, it's a name that represents severity. And some say that the Holy One, blessed be He, took the letters Mem, Yod, which is me, which signifies who, when you translate them, right? And put them together with the Aleph, Mem, Hey, which is Ele, these, and Elohim was formed. And he took Mem, Hey, that's Ma, which means what, and put it together with the Aleph, Ben, Resh, Evar, and it became Abraham. And the word who, which is me, alludes to the 50 gates of Bina, and in me there was a Yod, which is the first letter of the holy name, and the word what alludes to the numerical value of the holy name, and it was within it the second letter of the holy name, Yod-He, and the Vav and the He. As it is written, happy are the people for whom this is so, and hangs the earth upon nothing. And then both words were upheld, the world to come, and the letter Yod in this world with He. That is, he created the world to come with me, and this world with what? Which is Ma. This is a hint for the higher and lower, and then he created offsprings. Remember, the offsprings are the righteous souls that are in Seramping, or created by Seramping, uniting to Nukba, and they are in the world of Abiyah, the words of Biyah actually, which is Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. And it is written, these are the generations of the heaven and of the earth when they were created. The generations were suspended until the name Abraham was created, which is mercy. And when the name of Abraham was completed, so was the holy name completed, Elohim. And this is what is written in the day that Yohe and the Vav-He, together with the name Elohim, made the earth and the heaven. So by reading Behibaram, created as Be'abraham, with Abraham, the first time the holy name is seen in Torah is alongside the first mention of Abraham. So we're going to see Abraham mentioned in the story of creation. Why? Because this world and the world to come exist only in two letters. It's in the Yod and the He. The world, this word that is going to be in the Yod, and the word to come is going to be basically the letter He. The world to come, is going to be created, or is created by me, and the world, this world, is created by Ma, which is the gematria of 45. This is what is written. He said these are created, Behibaran, the generations of the heaven and earth, where the letters Behibaran make of the word Abraham, and this is, why the name Yohel de Vav is mentioned in the Torah only after mercy has been applied to this creation, to this system. Meaning that in order to that light to come all the way down and create the souls of the righteous in the words of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah, and even for it to come all the way down to the Lam Hesed, there has to be this quality of mercy. Without this quality of mercy, there can be no creation, there can be nothing, okay? So, after this section, because we're gonna continue seeing now after this we're gonna go to a section called the vision of Rabbi Chia in the next lesson, and in there you're gonna see an explanation about Malchut's union with Bina, and how these qualities of bestowal that Malchut acquired from Bina are basically used by Malchut in order to start this creation, because Malchut then gain these properties that are opposite to the nature of Malchut, which is receiving. Okay, and then we're gonna see, we're gonna talk about the Bina's property inside Malchut, and how a sivuk, this coupling, this connection in yesod, in the place of the Brit, takes place in what we call 600,000 degrees or years. And I'm not sure if I have I have it here, and 600,000 years, and 600,000 years are basically levels in the spiritual realm that are divided in 2000s, and are basically like the word Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. Each word is 2000. So the same thing is going to happen with the days. The days represent, the days of creation are 6. There's a 7th day, but we talk about these 6 degrees that are created first, which is Seramping, and from there, this force of the light of Hochmah, clothed in Or Hasidim, is going to reach Malchut. Okay, and this is how creation is going to be. And the vision of Rabbi Chia is going to take us, a little bit longer than this one in order to go through it. but it's a very interesting section because it's gonna tell us about the interactions of this system that we have here. Remember, this that you see here, because we're gonna use this diagram in the next lesson, is exactly the same thing that you see here. Okay, exactly the same thing that you see here. The only difference is that here is with more details. We add attic and we add what is called the reshimon, which is by numbers and everything. And in there, we're gonna learn about how the system actually works with the 6,000 years until the perfection or the correction of the worlds. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed this lesson. I invite you to look at the other lesson, because the other lesson is gonna be complementing this one. Actually, the one that we read before, lesson number 14. The lock and the key is connected to this one, and now we're gonna see how these start getting a little bit more, not complicated, simply that now we're gonna see more details, simply more details about this. And remember, as we study today this section about Abraham, the Abraham, think about bringing down the light of mercy. Meditate about the light of mercy. Meditate on this Hesed that we need in the world today in order to eliminate the chaos that we're living right now, and so mercy can be manifested and peace can be manifested, and balance between the forces of judgment and mercy can appear, and somehow the messianic consciousness can start appearing in humanity. Okay, so use this lesson in order to meditate on that, to meditate and pray for the union of all human souls in this earth, so everybody can start seeing each other as brothers and sisters that are sharing one planet, and they stop seeing lands and everything, which is it's a desire that belongs to the animal level. Animals are territorials. We are territorial too, because we live in an animal body, but we need to go above that nature of the animal and start becoming humans, the speaking level that Kabbalah talks about. And we need to transcend the animal. Right now, we need to do that. And in order for us to transcend that, we need the light of the Creator inside our vessels, inside our soul. We need to connect with that light. And that way we can transcend and become this a speaking creature, meaning at that level of humanity that we are all are supposed to reach, which is the level of peace with everybody and seeing everybody as equal when it comes to who we are in this planet and in front of the Creator. Until the next lesson, I hope you have learned something and you have connected with the light, and I'll see you on lesson 16. Shalom.